Namah Shivaya. Good morning, Acharya ji.
ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां
सदाशिवसमारम्भां
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे
गुरुपरम्पराम्
गुरुपरम्पराम्
ॐ
ॐ
सहना भवतु
सहना भवतु
सहनौ
सहनौ
भुनक्तु
भुनक्तु
सह
सह
वीर्यं
वीर्यं
करवावहै
करवावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
विद्विषावहै
विद्विषावहै
ॐ
ॐ
शान्ति
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 शान्तिः
शान्तिः।
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah
Om
Shivaya.
Shivaya.
So in the last session, we had completed Anuvaka number 1 of Brahmananda Valli. I will request Rituji and Nirveshji to chant the second Anuvaka fully.
Om Annadvai Prajah Prajayante Yah Kascha Prithvi Geshritaha Atho Anne Naiva Jivanti Athainadapi Yantyantataha Annagum Hi Bhutanan Jeshtam तस्मात् सर्वौषधमुच्यते सर्वं वै तेन्नमाप्नुवन्ति येन्नं ब्रह्मोपासते अन्नगुं हि भूतानां ज्येष्ठम् तस्मात् सर्वौषधमुच्यते अन्नात् भूतानि जायन्ते जातान्यन्नेन वर्धन्ते अद्यतेत्ति च भूतानि तस्मादन्नं तदुच्यत इति तस्माद्वा एतस्मादन्नः समयात् अन्योऽन्तर आत्मा अप्राणमयः तेनैष पूर्णः स वा एष पुरुषविद एव तस्य पुरुषविदताम् अन्वयं पुरुषविदः तस्य प्राण एव शिरः व्यानो दक्षिणः पक्षः अपान उत्तरः पक्षः आकाश आत्मा पृथिवी पुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा तदप्येष श्लोको भवति.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so now we are entering the second Anuvaka. And here we are not going to talk about the Annamaya Kosha, but we are talking about the Annamaya Atma itself, the Atma itself as Annamaya. So that distinction we should remember that this is not the Kosha, this is Annamaya Atma. Annamaya taken as Atma. And there are two parts. First is the Rik mantra, which talks about or introduces the Samashti Annamaya Atma. And please note this Samashti Annamaya Atma in this mantra is being called Annam. And we know of Annam, Samashti Annam as Virat. Right? So that is the first part, which is the introduction. And then in the second part of the mantra says, Shruti says that this Annam, which is Samashti Annamaya Atma, which is Virat, that Virat alone is the Srishti Karanam, Sthiti Karanam, and Laya Karanam. Very careful. Samashti Virat, that is Samashti Annamaya Atma, is the Srishti, Sthiti, and Laya Karanam for each and every Vyashti Annamaya Atma. And since it is referred to as Samashti Annamayam is referred to as Annam over here, Virat is being called what? Annam Brahma. Further, we have to recall that, or it will be said that the Samashti Virat and Vyashti Virat, the Samashti Annamaya and the Vyashti Annamaya are essentially the same. Why? Because they have a Karana Karya Sambandha. And we know the rule. Karana Gunaha Karye Anuvartante. That is the rule which you know. I hope you all remember. The attributes of the Karanam, Karana Gunaha Karye Anuvartante will be inherent in the product also. The attributes of the cause will be found in the product. And therefore, Samashti Virat and Vyashti Virat have a identity. There's a Aikyam. So that Aikyam is what we can meditate upon, which is what Aham Annamaya Atma. I am the Annamaya Atma. And Annam Brahma Eva Asmi. That same Annam which I am, that same Annamaya Atma which I am also Brahma. And in the second part of the Anuvaka, you will see that the Anuvaka talks about Pranamaya Atma. Okay. So we should remember that Annamaya should not confuse with Maya. Okay. It's not Annamaya. A lot of people say that. It is not Annamaya. Annamaya. Maya means a product. So Annamaya means a product made of Annam. Thus Maya is the Karyam. When you say Annamaya, the word Annamaya can be split into two. Annam is the Karanam and Maya is the Karyam. Right? So one second, I'll just mute because somebody has unmuted. Okay. So Maya is the product, is the Karyam, and Annam is the Karan. Therefore, remember that Maya, when added to the Karanam, is talking about the product. Annam is Karanam, Annamaya is Karyam, made out of Annam. And also one very important thing, the term Maya can be added only to the material cause, the Upadana Karanam. It cannot be added to Nimitta Karanam, the instrumental or efficient cause. Therefore, what is being said is that the Upadana Karanam, Annam, is not different from what? From the product, which is Annamaya. Thus, Annamaya Atma, which is Virat, and Vyashti Annamayam are the same. In other words, Vishwa and Virat are the same. The macrocosm, the Samashti, is identical in essence to the microcosm, the Vyashti. And we can think of the very famous example we have of ocean and wave. Ocean and wave are just different names for water. And therefore, ocean and wave are essentially, in essence, the real nature is what? Water. They are the same. And so, let's look at the words. Annadvai prajaha prajayanti. So, the annam here is what? Virat. Therefore, from that annam alone, prajaha, all living beings are born. And we should remember what we have studied in other Upanishads. That annam gets converted into what?
The seeds.
Shukram
Shukram and
Shukram and Shonitam,
And
the male
Shukram.
seed and the female seed. And therefore, this is the logical explanation. Therefore, since Annam alone gets converted into Shukram and Shonitam, which is called Anna Rasaha, therefore, from the combination of these two, from the merger of these two, the Praja are born, the children are born. And therefore, if you look at the cause for both Shukram and Shonitam, it is Annam alone. And Samashti Annam is Virat alone. Therefore, from Virat alone is the material cause of the individual bodies. That is what is being said. Virat, the universal body, is alone the cause of the material individual bodies. Then Shankara defines Prajaha. What is Prajaha? Prajaha means, Shankara says, all Sthavara Jangamaha. What is Sthavara Jangamaha mean? We have seen this before.
Moving.
Being and not.
All moving and non-moving beings. All moving and non-moving uh, jivas. Right? And then it says, Yaha Kascha Prithivik Ashritaha. So, Yaha Kascha Prithivim, if you're breaking it up, Prithivim Shitaha. So, Yaha Kascha is whatever there is. So, Shankara says Avashishtaha, without any exception, leaving nobody behind. All categories of living beings, from the bacteria to the human being, are being referred to over here. So, Prithvim Shitaha means which are dependent upon Prithvi. Prithvi Ashritaha, which are dependent upon Prithvi for its survival. Right? All these are what? Born from Annam Brahma only, born from Virat only. So, the first one is saying that every living being in the universe, Prithvi here can be taken as universe, not just the earth, because we cannot say that there are no living beings in other worlds. So we can take it as, for the purpose of this particular mantra, it can be taken as earth. But we should never remember that it should be including the entire universe also, because there can be living beings on other planets or other star systems also. So all are born from Annam Brahma, right? So up to here, up to where? Up to Prithvim Ashritaha, it is Srishti Karanam. So Virat has been introduced as Srishti Karanam in these three sentences, in these three vakyams. And then now Virat is being introduced as Sthiti Karanam also, the maintainer. So he says that Athaha Annenaiva Jivanti. Atha Annenaiva Jivanti. And Athaha has to be taken as also, moreover. So, moreover, Virat is also Srishti Karanam. Annenaiva Jivanti means they are endowed with prana by Annam alone. So, all the jivas, prajaha, are endowed with prana, which means they are endowed with life. They get life. They are living because of Virat only. Therefore, Virat is Sthiti Karanam. So, you should carefully note these sentences. The first two, Annadvai Praja Prajayante, Yakascha Prithvi Ashritaha. This is Srishti Karanam. Atho Annenaiva Jivanti is Sthiti Karanam. This Samashti Annam, Virat, is being presented as both. And now it is presented as Laya Karanam also. Atha Athainedapi Yantyantataha. So you can break that up. Atha Enat Api Apiyanti Antataha. Carefully break it up. Atha Enat Api Apiyanti Antataha. So Atha here means again Api. Moreover. Moreover what? Moreover, Virat is not just the Srishti and Sthiti Karanam, because Enat, into this Virat, into the Samashti Brahman, Apiyanti, the entire universe, Apigachanti, it resolves, it enters the Annam Brahman, it enters Samashti Brahman at Pralayam, and therefore it resolves into that Virat also. And here, Shankara adds a very nice note that when he says Api here, Atha Enat Api, the api should be taken. He uses the word called pratishabdharthe. Api should be taken as prati. Prati means in the direction of. So the whole universe on Pralayam, it travels into into the direction of Annam Brahma, Virat, ultimately merging with it. And therefore, this is the Laya Karana. So they merge into Virat. And when do they do that? Antataha. Antataha means ante. Ante means at the end of life, at the end of the body, at the end of prarabdha. Okay. Again, I will repeat. Srishti, Sthiti, and Laya Karanam, when you say together, the Karanam has necessarily to be Upadana Karanam. If you are saying that some entity is all the three Karanams, then you should be very clear that we are talking about material cause, not the instrumental cause. If it is only instrumental cause you're talking about, what can you say about it? What Karanam is it?
Srishti. It only creates.
It only creates. Therefore, Nimitta Karanam is Srishti Matra Karanam. Only the process of creation is done by Nimitta Karanam. So we should be very careful. Whenever we say Maya is Srishti Siddhi Laya Karanam, we are talking about Maya as the Upadana Karanam. When we say Brahman is Nimitta Karanam, we are talking about Brahman as Srishti Matra Karanam. How? Because of Brahman only, Maya can do the job of Srishti. That's the understanding. Okay, how far have we done? We have done up to Antataha. Now you look at the next line. Annagum hi bhutanam jeshtam. So, Annagum is a Vedantic usage. You can convert it into Annam hi bhutanam jeshtam. You can understand. Among all the living beings, the eldest, Jeshtaha, is Annam. So why? So he says, Annam hi bhutanam jeshtam. And Jeshtam is the first born. So here Jeshtam has to be taken as that from which the others are born. And among the okay, again I'll mute it because okay, so Jeshtam means Upadana Karana because the others are born from there. And since everything is born from Virat, Virat is therefore called Jeshtam. So that's why Annam hi Bhutanam Jeshtam. Virat alone is the eldest among all the living beings, Bhutanam. And from the eldest alone, the other living beings come, therefore Jeshtam. And therefore this Jeshtam here is equivalent to Upadana Karanam. So this sentence, Annam hi Bhutanam Jeshtam, has to be understood as Annam alone is the Upadana Karanam for the universe. And Annam, we can take it as Hiranyagarbha, Annam Brahma, is the oldest from which all the pranis are born. Okay. Now comes the question. Why do we say that Virat is firstborn? Why not Hiranyagarbha? Well, Virat is born from Hiranyagarbha. Why not Antaryami? Of course, Antaryami you cannot say. Why?
Probably because this is the first of the Sthula.
Very good. We are talking about Sthula Srishti, and the first in this Sthula Srishti is Viratana. Right? But if you take total Srishti, which is firstborn, Hiranyagarbha or Antaryami?
From Antaryami is born Hiranyagarbha.
No, I'm saying which is firstborn, Hiranyagarbha or Antaryami?
Firstborn is Hiranyagarbha.
Technically, Hiranyagarbha is firstborn.
But it's coming from Antaryami, no?
Yeah.
Therefore,
Antaryami first.
is Antaryami firstborn?
Antaryami is birthless.
Antaryami is
It's Maya,
it's
Sahita Brahman.
it's
And
Ishvara.
Maya is also Anadi and Brahman is also Anadi.
What is the definition of Antaryami in Tattva-bodha?
Karana. Some.
Which
Avyakta Maya Sahita Brahman.
the Antaryami's definition in Tattva-bodha is what? If at this stage you guys don't remember Tattva-bodha.
Samashti Karana Shariram.
Samashti Karana Shariram.
With the
Okay.
consciousness.
And so Karana Shariram, when is it born?
Anadi.
Anadi. Karana Shariram is never born.
Yeah.
Therefore Antaryami is never born. Which is why Ishvara is never born.
Correct.
Right? Antaryami is Anadi, which is why Ishvara is Anadi. And therefore, firstborn is Hiranyagarbha only. If you take total Srishti, it is Hiranyagarbha. If you take Sthula Srishti, it is Virat. Okay. And therefore, it says Tasmat Sarva Aushadam Uchyate. Virat is called Sarva Aushadam. Sarva Aushadam is Sarvam plus Aushadam. All Aushadam. Okay. What is the derivation of Aushadam? There are two words. Usha. Ush dhatu. Plus dam.
Oh, Acharya, I think you had mentioned sometime that it is something which satisfies hunger.
What something? No, you must give me
Yeah.
give me the breakup.
Yeah.
Ush dhatu means to burn.
Yeah.
And this is the ush means to burn. And this is the pangs of hunger which burn you.
Yes.
And dham is from the dhatu, that which satisfies. Therefore, that which satisfies ush plus dham, that which satisfies the pangs of hunger, that is oshadam. Right? So osham dayati iti oshadam. This is the final meaning. That which quenches the hunger pangs is oshadam. And therefore, what is oshadam here?
All plants.
Annam.
No.
Annam satisfies your hunger. And therefore, oshadam is annam. And therefore, Virat is called sarva oshadam. Remember that annam is basically from plants. And that's why we take the meaning of food can only be vegetarian. Okay, what is next in the mulam? Sarvam vai tennam apnuvanti yennam brahma upasate. Right? So, we are saying that you should know that there is a oneness between Vyashti and Samashti. And how will you understand that? By resolving Annamaya into Annam Brahman. Okay, so this has to be done both at the Vyashti and Samashti level. And therefore, there's a word for it. Anna Brahmavit. Brahmavit, the Vit here was Upasaka. Anna Brahmavit, the one who meditates upon Annam Brahman. And which Annam Brahman? Which has been mentioned in the Rig Mantra. For that person, what happens? Phalam Uchyate says Shankara also. What is the phalam? So here it says why te. Why is a expression indeed. So te is he. Why te indeed he. Sarvam annam. Sarvam annam means samastham annam. All types of food. Apnuvanti. That upasaka will get all sort of foods. Whatever he desires, whatever he can eat, he will get. So this is a phalam. Apnuvanti, he will get. And this is what ihaloka phalam. Obviously, because the food is available here. And then you have to ask, what is the paraloka phalam? You should remember the rule of upasana.
The meditator becomes the one he meditates upon.
Okay. So what is the Paraloka Phala?
He merges with Virat.
He merges with Virat. Okay then. Good. This is how you know, we are going a bit slow because I'm trying to not just give you the meaning, trying to stimulate your thinking, how the meaning is arrived at. And therefore, the Paraloka Phalam is that Upasaka will merge into Virat. And how should the Upasana be done? So, Shastra prescribes various rules, right? And depending on your Sankalpa also, depending on your objective for the Upasana. Do you want something in this life? Or do you want something in the next life? Or do you want Chitta Shuddhi? So, if you want to become, let us say, and you asking for Paraloka Phala, means you want to merge with Virat, then there is one rule. If you want to merge with Virat, or for that matter, any Upasyam, any Devata whose Upasyam you want to merge with, supposing that is the objective of the meditation. And this merger can occur only after the death of the physical body in the next life. Okay. So if you want to merge with any other Devata, and in this particular mantra, we are talking about Virat. So if you want to merge with Virat, the rule of meditation which is prescribed by the Shastra is what we have discussed this in Chandogya.
Ahangar on myself.
Ahangraha Upasana. You have to invoke that Devata on yourself. Okay, that is the rule. If you want to merge, Upasana has to be done on that particular Devata, but the Devata has to be invoked upon yourself, which is Ahangraha Upasana. So what is the meditation here? Anna Jaha. I am born out of Annam. Annam Atmanam. I am Annam. And that is I'm Annam means I am being sustained by Annam. And Anna Pralaya Aham. I will dissolve or resolve into the Annam on the death of the physical body. And therefore, what? If I am saying that I am born out of Annam, I am sustained by Annam, and I will resolve into Annam, I am saying that Tasmat Anna Brahma iti. I and Annam are the same. I and Virat are the same. I and Samashti Annam are the same. Okay, this is for the Virat Aikya. Okay, now let us get back to the Moolam. After Ye Annam Brahma Upasate. So that is that phalam was for the person who meditated upon Annam as Brahman. Yaha Annam Brahma iti upasate. The person who meditated upon Virat as Brahman. Now again you will have Annam hi bhutanam jeshta. So this is the second time. The first time was what? Where was it? About
The
two
second
sentences.
line.
Two sentences. Second line. Annam hi bhutanam jeshta. This is the fourth line. Annam hi bhutanam jeshta. It's a repetition. So that you should not forget. Don't get confused. And the second repetition is for Upasamhara. Upasamhara means concluding. He is concluding the mantra and he's saying, Annam hi bhutanam jeshtam. Repetition. Virat is the firstborn among all the beings. So, and of course, Shankara in his commentary very clearly says that the one who is born before the other jivas is the eldest one. I mean, not necessary to explain, but he still wants to explain. Annam Jeshtam is the person who is born before everybody else, and therefore from whom everybody is born. Therefore, Jeshtam means Karanam. Right? And therefore, Tasmat Sarvashadam Uchyate. Again, therefore, Virat is called the Annam for everybody. And then Annat Bhutani Jayante. Annat Bhutani Jayante. Jatani Nena Vardhante. This is the Moolam. So Annat Bhutani Jayanti. From Annam Brahma, all living beings are born. Sarva Bhutani, all living beings, all jivas are born from Annam Brahma, Samashti Brahman. And Jatani Nena Vardhante. You have to break it up carefully. Jatani Annena Vardhante. Jatani, all living beings. vardante are nourished or sustained by annena, by annam alone. So we are going sentence by sentence, vakyam by vakyam. So you can note now if you want, but don't miss the discussions if you are noting. That is why we provide the recordings. So you can always note later also. I would suggest that you closely follow the discussions. And in the next day or two, sit down and make your notes. Then adhyate atti cha bhutani. So you have to break that up. Adhyate atti cha bhutani. So adhyate means bhujyate. That which is eaten by the bhutas. There are two meanings now actually for anna. What is being given here is the definition of anna. So there are two. Adhyate atti cha bhutani and annam ati cha bhutani swayam. So there are two possible meanings for this anna. Adhyate means bhujyate. So annam can be taken as what is eaten by the living beings. So in the derivation aspect of Sanskrit grammar, the derivation is called vyutpatti. Vyutpatti. Okay. Now there are two ways which we are looking at right now. One is called karma vyutpatti and one is called kartra vyutpatti. So don't get confused. What does it mean? We are looking at the derivation of annam. When we say the karma vyutpatti of annam is something, it means annam becomes the object. Karma, right? Karma also means object. And when you say kartra vyutpatti, it means annam becomes the subject. Am I making sense?
जी अच्छा
Okay. If you don't understand, ask. Okay, these are all finer aspects. So when you say adhyate means bhujyate, you are saying whatever is eaten by living beings, that is annam. That is karma vyutpatti because annam is the object which is being eaten by jivas. And then there's another portion. Annam attija bhutani, which means annam itself eats or consumes all living beings. So here annam is the consumer. In the first derivation, annam was the consumed object. Now, in this kartra vyutpatti, annam is the subject which consumes all living objects. So there are two meanings. One is whatever is eaten by the jivas, which is karma vyutpatti. And one is annam itself eats all jivas, which is kartra vyutpatti. Okay. How are you to understand this? So Shankara thinks we all know, so he doesn't comment. You know? So we look at sub-commentators. And actually, it's a very interesting commentary they give you. They say that in the initial stages of your life, your body consumes food, right? And therefore, at that stage, annam is karma. Annam is the object which is eaten. But as you grow older, your digestive power becomes less and less. And if you continue to consume what you consumed earlier, same quantities, same rich food, then that food which is not being digested by your body, it turns into all sort of attacks on the body. Fat, cholesterol, diabetes, heart attacks, etc. That food which the body cannot consume, it destroys the body. And therefore, at the second stage, if you are not careful about your body, that food will, about your food, that food will destroy the body. It will actually eat the body. So that in that second case, annam becomes the eater, the consumer. Right? So inappropriate food will destroy the body. And that's why Krishna said in sixth chapter, Aharasya Viharasya. We should be consuming in moderation. Okay. Then we go to the next one. Tasmad Annam.
Acharya,
Yes.
can I ask?
Yeah, please.
Can we also interpret this as that as we are growing, we consume annam, and when we die, we go into annam?
Yes, of course, because Annam is basic. That's what's meant by Veshti Shariram disappearing into Annam.
Yes.
Yeah. That's also equally good explanation that when the body is dead, it goes back into the ground consumes the body, and then again becomes fertilizer. That's all possible interpretations. Okay.
Right.
Then Tasmat Annam Tad Yuchat Iti. This is the Moolam. So Tasmat, the first word. Tasmat Annam Tat Yuchat Iti. Tasmat means because. Because. What is because? Because the food is consumed by living beings. That's number one. And so you have to apply both meanings. Because Annam is consumed by all living beings. And number two, since Annam consumes all living beings, ultimately, Annam Tatyuchate, food is called Annam. And then there is a iti at the end of it. This iti is the equivalent of full stop in Shastram. It indicates that the topic is over. What is the topic? Prathama Koshaha, Annamayaha. So Shankara writes, Iti Shabdaha, the word iti, Prathama Kosha Samaptyarthaha. It is the indication that the discussion on the Prathama Kosha is over. Prathama Kosha is what? Annamaya Kosha. Okay. Also, it can be taken as the end of the Rig Mantra also. It is also the end of the Rig Mantra. Okay. Therefore, since Annamaya is over, remember right now, though I said Annamaya Kosha, we have to remember that it is Annamaya Atma so far. Because what? You have taken that Annamaya as the body, as the Atma. When you enter into Pranamaya Kosha, what will happen? You will take Pranamaya as the Atma. So once you take something as the Atma, everything else becomes what?
Anatma.
Anatma. Therefore, once you take Pranamaya as the Atma, then and then only Annamaya becomes Anatma, and therefore we can refer to Annamaya in the following portions. We can say any reference to Annamaya has to be construed as Annamaya Kosha. Up till now, it is Annamaya Atma. Right? So this is the turning point actually. Why a turning point? Because when you are in the Annamaya, when you are in the body, physical body, you can actually have two directions for introspection or your looks, your vision. You can look outward at the external world, or you can look inward at the internal world. That flexibility is available to you only in Annamaya. Once you cross Annamaya and go inwards, the external look is lost. Then there is only internal travel. And Shankara gives an introduction over here. He says that why is Shruti bringing in the topic of each of these koshas? Right? He says Shruti is introducing each kosha as an analysis. We have to examine it. An examination means you do a superimposition upon it, saying that this is me, this is I. So that is the Adhyaropa. And I is Atma, of course. That is why in the first section we said Annamaya is Atma. Annamaya Atma we are looking at. And once you see the defects and the logical defects, then you discard that Annamaya and what is process called? The superimposition that Annamaya is Atma, Annamaya I am, is called Adhyaropa. And when you examine it carefully and then you say, no, this Annamaya also, I cannot be this Annamaya because Annamaya is subject to change. It's born and dies, and I am not born and I don't die. Therefore, you disregard. You say, no, this is not Annamaya. The Annamaya is not me. And when you disregard that as Atma, you are relegating it to Anatma, to a kosha status. This process is called apavada. Right? So Shankara gives the example of dehusking grains. When you dehusk a grain, you pound the grain, right? So various levels, various layers are uncovered and rejected one by one until you finally come to the grain. So he says, and in this process, beginning from Annamaya, going to Pranamaya, and then Manomaya, and then Vijnanamaya, up to Anandamaya, he says each one you have to initially look upon as Atma. Right? And even when you look at all the five, you have to finally come to the conclusion that Brahman is innermost, inner to all the five. But even Anandamaya is not the real I. There is a Brahman inside, further inside. And that Brahman is to be revealed as the innermost essence. And he adds a very nice line. This can be known Shastram Vidyaya. Vidya. Only through Shastram you can know this. And how can you know it? You have to negate the Panchakosha. Because the Panchakosha are projections or products of avidya. And if something can be negated, it is mithya only. Right? So that is the introduction that Shankara gives. And then you look at the next line. Tasmadva etasmat anna rasamaya. Tasmadva, tasmadvai. Indeed, thereafter. Thereafter, where, whatever after. After rejecting
After you
the
have done
Annamaya as Atma, after relegating Annamaya to Annamaya Kosha, etasmat, from that Annamaya, Anna Rasamaya, from that Annamaya, which has been described before, which is the body, right? So we are now traveling from Annamaya to Pranamaya. So he says, see the next line. Anyonantara Atma Pranamaya. Inner to this Anyaha, there is another Atma, Anyaha. Anyaha Atma, Antaraha. Antara means inner to Annamaya. So Anya Antaraha, inner to the Annamaya, there is a Atma, which is Pranamaya. That's the Moolam part, right? So Atma Pranamaya. Now I am taking the Pranamaya as the Atma. Anya means Vyatiriktaha. So this Pranamaya is Vyatiriktaha, different from the Annamaya, which I considered earlier as Atma. And not only that, so each word you have to carefully note. Anyaha, Antaraha, Atma, Pranamaya. So I am saying Pranamaya, Atma. This Pranamaya is Atma now. I am this Pranamaya. And Anyaha, I am different from the Annamaya, which I discussed earlier. And not only that, Antaraha, this Pranamaya, Antara means Abhyantara. It is inner, what they call sequence. It is inner to the Annamaya. It's inside. Therefore, that Pranamaya is inside. Again, what is being taught? The Annamaya, which is the body, and its Karanam, Annam, are the same. The body is born out of the five elements, sustained by the five elements, and resolves into the five elements. That is at the Vyashti level, at the micro level. That same exercise you have to do at the macro level also. Therefore, the world is also Panchabhautikam and resolves into the Panchabhutas. What is the advantage with regular meditation of this type? You will know that body is only Panchabhuta. Right? it is first the body, then it is Panchabhuta, then it is Annam, then again the process reverses. From Annam comes the body. And therefore, what will you know? That really speaking, that there is no death for the body at all. There is nothing called death. Nothing is destroyed. Nothing is created. And this Krishna said very early on in second chapter. Do you remember?
Avinashi tu tadviti. Are we talking that verse?
No.
No. No.
Anyway, I will leave it to you for what they call homework.
भवति भूतानि
Yeah, the
पञ्चनः
same
तेषु
Chidanti.
Okay. There are a lot of verses. This is one of them. Fine. So the fear of death goes away, right? And therefore, what is being said that it is because you think that the body dies. Really speaking, it doesn't die at all. It just gets converted into Panchabhutas and is reborn again. It's only a conversion. And therefore, if you are afraid of death, you have missed the central idea of scriptures. That it is Nama Rupa alone which changes, but the content never changes. And therefore, if you are afraid of death, it is because you are focusing on the form and not on the content. Focus on the content, and the form will cease to frighten us. So, wherever there is focus on Nama Rupa, fear of death is always there. When there is focus on the substance, the essence, the fear of death gets weakened up. So, Deha Abhimanam, the weaker it gets, the more freedom you have from this fear. And this Annamaya, Annam Aikyam Upasana, the meditation between the oneness of the body and the Annam, the creator of the body, the Upadana Karanam of the body, that meditation, it helps us to weaken this body identification. Because body identification is a very great obstacle to Atmagyan. As long as I think that I am the body, how can I ever make that jump to I am the Atma? So you cannot have you may have the intellectual knowledge that you are the Atma, but for it to assimilate, for it to give you benefit, body identification has to become very weak, if not totally dropped. And therefore, once you start seeing the death of any physical body, even your near and dear ones, even your own body, once you're able to visualize that as a natural event in the cosmic cycle, you will understand that this cannot be prevented. Well, it is a law of nature. And what cannot be prevented, if it disturbs your mind, something is wrong in the understanding. So once this body identification becomes very weak or is dropped, then and then only will Aham Brahmasmi assimilation will pass. Right? So what did we say earlier? We said Annamaya is the Atma. But now we have to say, no. Atma is Anyaha, different from the Annamaya. And where is this Atma Antaraha? Inner to the Antamaya, Annamaya. And it is called Pranamaya. Pranamaya is the Atma. Annarasamaya. Annarasamaya means that which is a product of Annam, which is what? The physical body. And therefore he says, Antaraha Annarasamayat. It is internal to the physical body. It is internal to the Annamaya kosha. Thus, my understanding has now changed. That I am no longer the physical body. I go inside and say, okay, I am the Pranamaya kosha, Pranamaya now. I don't say kosha because I am taking Pranamaya as Atma. So if Pranamaya is Atma, Annamaya is Anatma. Therefore, I say very safely, Annamaya becomes Anatma. And therefore, we use the word kosha. Kosha is Anatma basically. So this step in our Panchakosha Viveka has got a very nice name. Anatmatva Nishchayaha. The understanding, the decision that the physical body is anatma. So anatmatva nishchayaha, understanding that annamaya is anatma, declaring it to be a kosha. That is anatmatva nishchaya. And once I know that annamaya is atma, then I have to go back to the original teaching. Because I have discarded annamaya as myself. I am now saying pranamaya is myself. Okay. Then what? The Shruti says that the entire creation is born out of Atma. That it is Atma which is the Karanam for the entire Anatma Prapancha. When we see this, Tasmadva, Hey Tasmat, etc., etc., Akasha Sambhutaha, etc., right? So if Annamaya is Atma, it is Annamaya, product of Atma. Therefore, it is also a Karanam. Atma is Karanam, right? Annamaya, the physical body, is a product of Atma, it's a Karya. And therefore, I have now moved away from I am the Atma, which is the Karanam, everything, which is physical body, to I am Pranamaya. And therefore, Annamaya is a product of Atma. Therefore, we must remember that whenever we say something is a product, any Karyam is nothing but name and form, right? An ornament is nothing but name and form of gold. Therefore, the physical body is what is a karyam, we are saying, product. It's a name and form of what? Physical body is name and form of what?
Annamaya question?
Of Atma.
What is the
Brahman.
upadana karanam for the physical body?
Maya,
Maya, prakriti, right?
Mithya.
Matter.
Yeah.
And therefore, you are saying the physical body is nothing but a
Mithya.
name and form given to matter. It is mithya. So the learning here is something very important. That Maya, that Prakriti, that matter is eternal. It cannot be produced. It is anadi. What is produced is the shape, the rupa, and then you give it a name. Therefore, the body is namarupa, and because it's namarupa, it is going to be mithya. This is going to be said. So, what was our first step? Understanding that Anatma Nishchaya, how we said, understanding that the physical body is Anatma. And then we said Anatma means a product of matter. And the body, if it is a product of matter, the body is Namarupa. Therefore, this is the second step. First step is Anatma Nishchayaha. The second step is Nama Rupatva Nishchayaha. Understanding that Anatma is nothing but Nama Rupa. Right? Once a karanam or once a karyam is known as namarupa, then we know that this namarupa, this name and form, cannot have separate existence of its own because it is intrinsically dependent upon the substance for existence. And what is intrinsically dependent upon something else for existence is mithya. So this is the next step. Mithyatva nishchayaha. So anatma nishchayaha, nama rupatva nishchayaha, and then mithyatva nishchayaha. So whatever exists by depending on something else, it has got borrowed existence. Whatever has borrowed existence is as good as non-existence, since existence is not the intrinsic property. It's not swabhavika to that substance. It's not intrinsic to that property. Therefore, all products are mithya. This is the next step. So, am I making sense so far?
Yes, Acharya.
Acharyaji, may I ask something?
Yeah.
While saying that Annamaya, which we earlier said was Atma, is now Anatma, is Annamaya Kosha.
Yeah.
Now we proceed on to be saying Pranamaya is Atma.
No. We are not that. We are now analyzing the process by which we have said that Annamaya is kosha. This is the process.
Ji.
These steps are for that process.
Ji, but that Anyontara Atma Pranamaya. So I was just wondering that word Pranamaya also has that suffix Maya. So
Yes.
that how can we say that Pranamaya is not a product and is
We will come to that discussion later stage. Right now, you're moving from
Okay.
Annamaya to Pranamaya. So we have
Okay.
said Pranamaya I am, Annamaya is the Anatma. How did we say Annamaya is Anatma? This is the discussion. So there is
Ji.
Anatma Nischayaha, there is Namarupa Nischayaha, there is Mithyatva Nischayaha. These are the three steps so far. Right?
Mhm.
So when you
Ji.
finish the discussion, you will see. When I hold, let us say, a bangle and see it as nothing but gold, remember that the physical bangle still remains in my hand, right? But the idea of bangle has been intellectually swallowed up. Why? The bangle has been intellectually destroyed because of the understanding that the bangle is nothing but gold alone. And when you understand the bangle is gold alone, it is a karana drishti, right? It is the focus on the karana, the gold. And therefore, karana drishti, the focus on the karanam always resolves the karyam. And this process, resolving the karyam, not physically, but by understanding it as not different from the karanam, that has got a particular name in Shastra. It is called pravilapanam, annihilation intellectually. Okay, so this word you must remember. This resolution of Annamaya body by focusing upon the fact that body is a product of matter is the pravilapanam. The body has been taken as anatma, taken as namarupa, taken as mithyatvam. And since it is mithyatvam, mithya, it is not real anymore, and it dissolved. So Annamaya has now been swallowed up. Pravilapanam has taken place. Therefore, you can take pranamaya as the atma, which is the next step. Right? Once I come to this, what has happened? The first step is over. I have resolved Annamaya. I have discarded it as kosha. I have discarded it as mithya. I am now convinced that I am no longer the body. And now I have said, fine, that pravilapanam has taken place. The body annihilation, intellectual annihilation of the body by focusing on the karanam, which is prakriti, matter, panchabhuta, has taken place. And now I am saying that I am pranamaya. Once I have taken myself as pranamaya, the same process has to be repeated. I have to practice upasana on pranamaya as the atma. And once I have done this for sufficient time, I can negate the pranamaya as atma, convert pranamaya into anatma. Then I can go to manomaya. And after sufficient meditation, I can convert manomaya into anatma kosha. Then I can go to vijnanamaya. And then similarly to anandamaya. So all the 5 steps have to be done using the same method. This is called pancha kosha vivekaha. And therefore, what will I finally find out? There will be pravilapanam for each of the koshas. And therefore, I will say that none of them are Satyam. They are not me because I am Atma Satyam. Therefore, these five I cannot be. All of five are Mithya. And Mithya is as good as non existent. Even though I'm experiencing the Mithya, it doesn't really exist. This is the Pravilapana. Okay, so with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions? Okay. I know you have some questions. I can put them down on the group and I will answer. But since we have not finished the Anuvaka, you will find that as the Anuvaka goes on, many questions will get resolved. So with this, we'll stop for today. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your
Thank you.
patience. Om Om.
Namaskar.